How's it going, YouTube? Got another video here. Gonna make a very quick one about how you can some tips and tricks to speed up your Android experience. I guess you might call it. I don't know. You're basically make your phone go faster, right? So this is not like a comprehensive, here's 40 different things you can do to speed up your phone. This is just a handpick what am I trying to say? A handful of cherry-picked tips that have been the most useful, because I've tried the whole 40 tips. You go online, you find like 40 different things you can do to your phone. Most of them don't really do that much. So I'm just picking out a few here that are the best, that are going to really help speed up your experience. So first and foremost, this app here, there will be a link in the description, and as always with my channel, it will not be an affiliate link, because I'm just kind of getting annoyed with all that. Anyway, not an affiliate link, just a real normal link to this guy, Greenify. I'm running AZ screen recorder. So anyway, what this does is this will force close background apps. And this is not something you have to do like 50 times a day. This is something like once a day, twice a day, maybe 3 times a day if you're like me and you use a stupid large number of apps in a day. But for the most part, probably just once a day would be fine. So what you do then is you would just close all the open apps you have. So in my case, on the Pixel 2, you swipe all the way right, you hit clear all, and then you would press the little green button, bottom right hand corner, and that will hibernate. I just ran it, so I don't have any apps that need hibernation, except for my screen recorder, of course, as you may see. And this app is extremely simple to use. It's free. It will work non-rooted. Way back when, this app used to be root only. So some of you may know the name and may think, well, that's a root app. Well, a long time ago, yeah, it was. But actually, recently, they figured out a way to make it work. Not quite as well, but still very well without a root. So that's nice. Pretty easy to set up. You just tap the plus button on the upper right hand corner, then you can just simply add. These are apps I do not choose to hibernate, but you can add them to the list to be hibernated. One option I would definitely select, though, is there's an option here. You see the green check box there. Always ignore background free. You're going to want to check that when you do set up the app, because otherwise it's going to ignore most of your apps and not hibernate them. I don't know why, but that's what it does. So that's the first tip. Use Greenify. Run it about maybe once a day. This works way better than all of those, RAM booster type things. I never really got much mileage out of those. Those didn't seem to always work too well for me. The Greenify has been tried and true, works extremely well, and really, really genuinely helps speed up your phone, and also save battery, by the way. The other tip I'm going to present here is, I don't know, I guess some people are probably going to have different opinions about this, but I would enable the adaptive battery. If you have a phone that has that, again, I have the Pixel 2. I'm not sure if every phone has this. It's an Android, oh shoot, when did they add this feature? Android 8 point something, they added this feature, so not everybody, not all y'all may have this, but if you have it, I would enable it. It does seem to help and does not seem to impact performance, in my experience. So the other option you're going to want to do is enable, if you don't already have your developer options enabled, like I do here, you're going to want to enable those, because there's a few features there that you're going to unlock, a few options there. So for that, you're going to go to About Phone, scroll down. Oh, I just showed my phone number there. That's great. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but oh well. No, they kind of hiding it. So they changed the location. I just updated to Android 9, so they changed this option a little bit, but it's the build number on the very bottom there. You're going to start tapping that. I believe it's 7 taps. I'm already a developer, as you can see there, but you tap that until it says you're a developer, and then you will have under the system settings, you will then have the developer options. So do that. Once you do that, there'll be a lot of options here. One interesting option is the stay awake option. Screen will not sleep while charging, so that's pretty self-explanatory. If for some reason you don't want your phone screen to turn off, for instance, if you're, I don't know, maybe playing a game and you don't want it to time out, like Clash of Clans, you don't want it to time out and you don't want to get attacked while you're away eating dinner, you could do that. But your phone also might get hot, but I mean, you could do that. Just keep scrolling down here. Android 9, by the way, unlocked a lot of features on the developer menu, which I'm happy about. So one thing I would do, this is actually, okay, so this isn't going to make your phone go faster, I don't think, but it will help. It will help somewhat with the apps and websites tracking you and targeting you for ads and things. Connected MAC randomization. It randomizes the MAC address when connected to Wi-Fi network. So you hop on and off a network every time you reconnect to it. So let's say you go to work, then you come home and reconnect to your Wi-Fi. It will then, once you reconnect, randomize that MAC address. And it will do that every time you reconnect to that network. So basically every day it will randomize your MAC address, which does seem to help. And keep scrolling here. And this is an interesting option. If you do use, like I do, use a screen recorder for creating videos, show taps. Visual feedback for taps. That one's pretty handy. Anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. Here is the biggest 3 options I was looking for, and that is the animation scale options. You could turn this off. Default, by the way, is set to 1. Okay, so that just controls how elegant the transitions look. I mean, basically, and that's not a very technical description of it, but that's basically what it does. How elegant everything looks when you switch screens is essentially what that is going to do. Transitions, window animation, and then the animation duration. What you're going to want to do, default, like I said, is 1. I've already set the settings to the one that I recommend, which is 0.5. You could try turning them off. Honestly, it looks pretty choppy on the Pixel 2 when you turn them completely off. But 0.5 will give you a quite noticeable bump in speed. And it's not so much that it's making your phone go faster in the sense of it's clearing RAM or CPU usage. It's like, killing background apps or anything like that. It's obviously not. But what it will do is, since it's not bothering with trying to have the extra animation on those transitions and windows and things, it's just the whole process is going to be possibly less smooth feeling or looking, but it will be faster. So that's really kind of what matters, right? I mean, and so again, a lot of options here. I would take a look at these and see if maybe playing around with some of them. Just be careful which ones you play around with, but play around with some of them. Another one you can do, I do not because my phone has a lot of RAM, but if you have a system that, you have a phone that's not running a ton of RAM, you might want to think about limiting your background processes. So maybe doing 2 processes, 3 processes or something. Now just to let you know, that will keep, if you set it to 2 processes, that will basically keep apps from being able to refresh content in the background many times. So you probably, for instance, like a social media app, you probably won't get notifications from them unless they happen to be one of those 2 processes that are allowed to run, but as in you've used it within the last few minutes, but otherwise you won't get notifications from them. So just keep that in mind, but you can do that. Oh, that's new. Background check. Wow. I need to figure out what that one does. Again, I just updated my phone, so a few extra things here. Another thing I would do that enhances the experience, again, not so much the speed, I guess, but just the overall Android experience, is forcing this last option here, this slider, force actions to be resizable. And what that allows you to do is, if you want to split, you want to operate with 2 apps on the screen at a time, it forces, because not all apps natively support that, so it forces those apps to be resizable, which might cause a few of them to crash. I've had like 1 crash on me actually, but for the most part it seems to work. So that is also a good experience thing. The other thing is probably more basic. but is also something you might want to think about. And that is the storage. For instance, mine is 85% full, which can start slowing you down. Usually, this is like, going to vary a lot, I'm sure, depending on the phone, depending on the manufacturer. But it seems to be with Android, once you get more than 80% full, you start losing performance. And you just start, that starts to suffer. So, for instance, I'm 85% full right now. But I'm going to clear some of that. Not right now, but I'm going to figure out what I need to delete here in a bit. So what I would recommend is on the settings menu, you go to that storage option, you check out, you see, okay, photos and videos, what the heck, I have 21 gigs. Jeez, I have a lot. 21 gigs? Crap, 20 gigs of pictures? Look at that on the bottom. 20 gigabytes just of pictures. Okay, so take a look at that, see if there's stuff you can delete. Music and audio, got a lot of that. A lot of times, my personal thing, one thing I also use this menu for, though, you see it says there other apps. I open that up, and right now it is sorted. The default is sorted by name. So what you do is you just select it on the upper right, the little button there, sort by size. So you look at the size apps, and this will do is show you apps that some of these apps just keep horrendously large caches of information, and I think sometimes it gets a little bit excessive in what they do as far as their caches. So this will help clear storage, but also might help the performance of the apps, because I mean, like, I cleared my cache recently on most of my apps. So right now, like for instance, Chrome, one time I opened up Chrome and I realized, and I'm on this menu, and I noticed it had a 760 gigabyte cache, and every so often I would go through here, if I were you, and clear some of these larger caches. Again, it'll clear space, but it'll also many times help the app performance, because a cache is a good thing that can help speed up apps in some cases, but when the cache gets overly large and cumbersome, in my opinion, the performance and the stability of the app does tend to suffer, and that's my opinion, but it does tend to suffer after a while. So you can do that, just open that up here, hit the clear cache button, and now that's gone. Now that has to and those are my basic tips. I'm going to be making other videos that are more in depth about upping the performance on Android, Chrome OS, and things such as that. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I hope this helps, and I hope it helps some of y'all out there just have a better, smoother, faster experience using Android. It's really a remarkable operating system if it's something you're considering. They in the last couple of versions, especially maybe starting at about Android 6 or 7, they really have taken it a long ways. It's really remarkable, very versatile operating system. So I would highly encourage you to at least consider it if you're out there looking for a phone to buy. Apple, which is the only major competitor out there for Android in terms of smartphones, Apple is good, but the problem is they're just very, and I've had Apple, I've had an iPhone before, so I know what this is. I do know what I'm talking about with this one. They are very rigid the way they do things, I guess is the word, and they have no flexibility. They have no just simple things like, you may have noticed my screen outlay here looks a little different. It's because I changed some of the settings. I changed my launcher. I have a thing where instead of pressing the home button and I simply go to home, if I tap it twice, I will open up this menu here, which allows me to search my apps, instantly get to the App Store, things like that. You can't do some of that customization on Apple. It just simply is not possible. You basically have the default iPhone experience. You can tweak a few things, but you pretty much have the default iPhone experience, and that's about it. And so because of that, I think Android is a superior operating system to iOS. And I'm probably going to get some mad Apple people for saying that, but it really is true. So I really hope that helps everyone, and I will catch you all on the next video.